All right, we can go ahead and get started now. My name is Robert Schuler. I'm marketing manager over here at CableFinder, and I'm joined by Director of Partner Experience and Programs Taylor Brown and our account specialist Jasmine Pizarro, and we'll be running you through all the new exciting updates that we have here going live tomorrow in CableFinder. That being said, before I hand it over to Taylor, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to throw them in that Q&A section. You should see that at the bottom of your screen. And we might not get to them immediately, but we will be stopping periodically throughout the session to be able to get to any of those questions. And so feel free to throw any questions, like I said, you have in that Q&A section. That being said, Taylor, I will let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Thanks everyone for joining. So we are super excited to launch some of these updates, completely transforming some of the UI UX that you'll see in CableFinder. So again, we are launching these tomorrow. So when you log in tomorrow, you should see all of these live. So just be on the lookout for that. But essentially today we're going to walk through some new features and then just some enhancements that we've made. So on the agenda, we've got a new feature. We're calling it add to quote or multi-quote. This is for the same vendor, but I'll walk through all of this in a demo as well. We are also launching our new pricing quotes history page. That is now going to be called the opportunity history. Well, also within that page, you can now generate a contract on an existing quote. So that has been probably one of our most asked features. And so we're happy to finally get that across the finish line. And then another new feature is within DocuSign on this opportunity history page, you'll be able to see some more functionality in DocuSign, such as, if you send the DocuSign, it will just show it still needs to be signed. Once the customer signs, it'll update some of those statuses. So we'll walk through that as well. So on our new feature, our multi-quote, this is a little sneak peek of what it will look like. Again, I'll walk through exactly how you can generate this, but I've labeled my quote here. These are just labels that I made, quote 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you can obviously label your quotes however it makes most sense for you. If you want to do the term and speed, just quote 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is all flexible and a variable that you can add. Then we'll go over who the provider is. In this particular case, it's showing all the same speed, but you can customize that on this page. So essentially any change that you're going to make, whether it's term, speed, add-ons, it's just going to kind of put together a summary page for you for a side-by-side comparison. Next up is our pricing quotes history page. Again, we're calling that now the opportunity history. You'll get to this page the same exact way, but as you can see, it will be a complete redesign and just way more functionality in the page. You'll be able to see the status of your order, upload your contracts here. DocuSign updates will be available here, order details, additional order information, sales IDs. If that provider does have full order placement, you'll be able to see, your order number. Some of that may vary depending on the carrier and what information they have. If they're giving us an API, if they don't have an API, obviously some of that information will be limited. And then the feature to generate a contract on an existing quote. So you'll be able to kind of access that from two different screens. Obviously, be mindful of any expired pricing. I wouldn't recommend going into a quote that was generated 6 months ago and trying to generate a contract on that. So just be mindful if those providers have updated their pricing. Some of the providers have a 30-day grace period. So just keep that in mind as you're using that functionality. And then the DocuSign updates that I'll be reviewing, this is a little sneak peek into what those will look like. So we did launch some updates to DocuSign last year to where you could change signer, resend, or void the contract. So all of that functionality is still available. But we have also added the updates here that you can see it's delivered, but it's still not green yet because the customer needs to sign. Once the customer signs, it will update that status. then you would still have to come into CableFinder and upload that DocuSign for it to complete the status there. So with that, I will jump into our demo environment and show off all these features. Do we have a
Yeah.
question here?
So we do have one quick question here. Will you be adding multi-quote with multiple vendors in the future?
We will, yes. So this is kind of phase one to that. So same vendor, but eventually we are working towards the capability to, compare AT&T and Spectrum or something like that on the same page. So I don't have an ETA for that, but that is on our roadmap. When sending via DocuSign, does it identify the TSD agent supplier? Um, Yeah, so just so I understand here, so when we're sending a DocuSign, um, you can't, so the DocuSigns in CableFinder are currently all managed by the TSD. So it's the TSD's DocuSign with the exception of Comcast. They have their DocuSign integration in CableFinder. But I'm in an admin environment, but when you're, logged into Intelisys or Teleris, for example, that DocuSign would link back to that TSD. We are working on a capability that you will soon be able to link your own DocuSign in the system. So currently the integrations will only work with the CableFinder DocuSign, but soon you'll be able to link up your own. And so then all those automations will continue to work. So it just kind of depends which supplier you're doing and which TSD environment you're in. But when you do send a DocuSign out, it does copy the CableFinder user, so it would be yourself, and then it would also copy your TSD as well. Do we get a copy of the signed contract once signed? Yes. As the CableFinder user, once that customer signs the contract, you're notified when that contract has been signed, and then you would then have to come into CableFinder and upload that signed contract. Will there be the ability to revise or quote our contract without starting over? Not at this time. You can't edit anything today. So if you do have to make any actual edits to the pricing or the billing information, anything like that, you do have to start over in that CableFinder experience. All right, so I'm going to start off with our quoting experience here. So we'll type in our address. We're doing here, we'll do Comcast best efforts for today. So I'll come in to configure my pricing here. All of this is going to look the same. So if I want 36 months, maybe we'll do 300 meg. So now what you're going to see here is the ability to just save quote. So I'll save my quote. You still have to label your business name. Let's do test 1, 2, 3. So then this is my quote name here. So I think I picked, we'll do 300 meg, for example. I'll do quote 1. I will hit OK. And so it's still going to download my standard quote that it does today. So here's my quote. 300 meg, here's all the package details. So this standard quote that it does today is still going to exist. It's still going to have much more information on here versus your summary page. Due to real estate, we won't have as much information on there. So you will still always be able to access these individual quotes. So now I have the option to add another quote. So I can come in here, maybe I want to do 500 meg. So I'll pick this one. And I can add my other quote here. So I'll do 500 meg, quote 2. Okay, and so what it's doing is it's kind of creating a record for me down here. So I can see that I currently have 2 quotes available. Let me do a 24-month here. Here's my promotion. I'll do 500 meg to, quote 3. And so here on my little tracker here. I've got my terms that I've selected and total MRC, so I can see those. So here's my 3 quotes. I'm going to do one more. Do a gig. All right, so here's my 4 quotes. You can continue to add more quotes to this, but when you come in here to generate your quote PDF, you can only select 4 at a time. And that is, again, just due to real estate. As we added 5, 6, 7, 8 quotes, it changed the landscape of it and just became a little bit too congested. So you could only select up to 4 quotes for the summary page. But if you come in here and you want to, on this page do 8 quotes, then you can select your first 4, create the summary page, come back in and select your next 4 to put them on their own summary page. So it will allow you to generate more than 4 quotes, but just keep in mind when you come in here to generate that summary page, it's only going to let you pick 4. Once you try to go pick that 5th or 6th one, it'll just be grayed out until you unselect whichever one you don't want. So here's my multi quote here. So once I click this, here is my summary page, my comparison page. We've got our address up here. My information up here because I'm the CableFinder user. I'm in a dev environment, so it says admin right now, but you do have the capability of uploading your own logo into CableFinder, so you can further customize that. Prepared for would be the business name here. So here's my quote summary. 300 meg, 500 meg, here's those quotes that I labeled them. They're all for best efforts. And then here's what's included. I've got my up to speed, my term that I selected, and then just the basic information here. So this is missing the, package details, some of those promotions. So again, this is really just a quick comparison page. If you do need to send out those detailed quotes, you can access those in your opportunity page. So back here on my pricing configuration, if I'm in this same session, I can come in here to generate my contract, and then you would just have to pick which quote you want to proceed with a contract to move forward. I'll take this 500 meg, and then it will just take me right into my customer information where I can then proceed to generate my contract. If you need to come back in later or you want to view some of those opportunities, you can come in here to your opportunity history page. And you can see here's my 4 quotes that I just generated. Here's my quote 4, 3, 2, and 1. So if I need to come back in here, I can re-download the individual quotes. Keep in mind you won't be able to download your summary page again. So we're working on that capability, kind of where it will live on this page. So for the time being, you'll only be able to come back in and re-access the individual quotes. So just be sure to save your multi-quote in your downloads, or if you're emailing it out, that will be your only record of it at the time that you generate it. So I'm going to pause there and see what questions we have.
Yep. So first one is the business name our name as the advisor or the client's name?
It would be your client's name, the customer's name.
All right. And then who is registered account name?
That would be your business. So if I'm selling for, Sally's Beauty Salon, my registered account name would be the customer.
All right. And then for providers that don't require contracts, can we order without having to generate a new quote?
Yes. So that's a good headway into this here. So you will be able to generate a contract or just move straight from quote to order for those that don't have paperwork. You'd see that option here on the this is kind of like our pop out. And then you'd also be able to come in here to see full opportunity. So I will dive into that here in just a second. Don't want to jump too far ahead. Any other questions on the multi-quote functionality?
Looks like we're good for right now.
Okay, cool. All right, so with that, then I will dive into generating a contract on an existing quote. So again, how you can get to this page here is searches and quotes, and then you'll come in here to opportunity history. So this is our new opportunity history page. Um, so I can see all activity here, meaning these are all my quotes, all my contracts, and all my orders submitted. We've also broken it out here. So if I click quotes, it's going to take me to the order status where these are only quotes. So that means that if you've moved this quote to a contract, or if this is now an order, you're not going to see it in the quotes category anymore because it's not at that stage. Then we also have it by contract. So any opportunity that is just at the contract generated stage, you'll see those here. And then all your orders are also going to be available under that orders category. So on our all view, you've got your username, your customer name that you entered, that registered account name, the quote ID, your quote name, whatever you labeled that as, who the provider is, which some of the high level services that were added, your date and time. So this date and time here is going to be obviously the date that you created it, but the time will change kind of depending on the last action that was taken. So in this case, and it is off of a universal time, kind of the master time clock. Obviously 6:14 p.m. today is in the future, so that is the master time clock that this is referencing since we're all in different time zones. So my contract was generated at this time zone. My quote was generated at this time zone because this is the last kind of status, the last action that was taken on that. So it will update, so we can see, when your order was submitted, it will update that time. And then your order status here, this opportunity is at the contract generated. This one that I did here, all I've done was generate the quote. I can click this little arrow here, and it's going to take me into my kind of an overview, a quick kind of overview of what we're looking at here. So I can see my quote is generated. That's in the green. Next step would be to generate a contract. And then this is where I could come back in. Maybe I talked to the customer this morning or yesterday, and they want to continue forward with quote number 4. So I can come in here and click generate contract, and it just takes me into my contract generation field. Or if I want to come in and view this at a much bigger opportunity, I can come in here to this screen and ready for contract generation. I can click generate contract, and it will take me back to that customer gathering information from here. So again, keep in mind any pricing updates, anything like that. We're going to add in some verbiage here, but it is ultimately up to the user to know if pricing's been updated, anything like that. So obviously just be mindful if you're going into a quote from a month ago, that pricing may have changed since then. Also on this page, so just kind of going tile by tile here. So got my customer details, my selected services, my address here. So this is now a link that if I click this address, it's going to take me back to my serviceability page. Let's see here. Go back into my page. My quote generated, that was the last status. The status of this order again, just kind of showing what we saw on that preview screen. Here, if I need to re-download that single quote, I can do so from here. My contracts, as I just shown, you can come in here and generate your contract from this page. Because this is only a quote, I'm not going to have any DocuSign information available. Some of this information may be limited based on where you're at in that CableFinder process. But down here, my order status, so my quote was generated. Here is some of the details on that package that I selected, the promotions, all of that. So now let me come in here to a different opportunity. We'll find a contract here. We'll do Zayo. So here I can now see my contract has been generated. Next up would be to upload my signed contract. So this opportunity was sent out just in a PDF. So there's no DocuSign information available right now. You can come in and send out a DocuSign later. So maybe you exported it just PDF, but now the customer wants a DocuSign. You can come back in and send with DocuSign at a later date. I could come in now. I can download my unsigned contract. And if I'm ready to submit my order, I could come in here and just submit my order. You can drag and drop the file, click to browse. This is not my opportunity, so I don't have a contract to upload here for Zayo, but you could find that opportunity, submit your order. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. Let me come back in here to an order just to show you what it will look like when you've completed the process. So here's for ACC. I'm done. My contract has been uploaded. Everything's green now. I can come into my full opportunity. Order successful. I can download my signed contract if I need to. This one was signed manually. So again, no options here for DocuSign at the moment. But if I need to upload any additional files, ACC allows this. So that's where some of this might vary depending on the carrier. If they don't need any additional documents, you're not going to see anything on here to upload. Sales IDs. So once I come in here to additional information, so if it's impersonated or not. So if you're coming in here and doing this yourself, you won't see any information here. But if your TSD is coming in here and maybe, generating a contract on your behalf, they have an impersonation feature. Nothing that any user would have access to. It's strictly just for TSD back offices. You would see, was this impersonated? Yes or no? And then who did the impersonation? And then any order notes, if you entered those, you would be able to see that here. Your sales ID, if you have one, an EL code, in this case for ACC, your Spectrum sales ID, you'd see that information available. Under see more info here, so this affiliate order ID, because we have full order placement with ACC, that's where you're going to see some of this information. So again, this varies based on which one of those providers have API order integration. So we'll take someone like Lumen, for example. They don't have APIs. So even though they have contract or order placement, it's just sending them an email. So we're not going to see order IDs on this screen because they don't have an API. Someone like Spectrum Coax, you'll see the account number, the order number, all those details because that is available in their API. Let me see here if I have one with DocuSign.
Taylor, real quick, we had a question come in. Is multi-quote just multi-vendor or can it handle multi-location as well?
It is single location, single vendor for the time being. So no multi-address or multi-vendor.
Great, thank you.
So I'm just seeing here if I have an example of a DocuSign. Search myself and see here. Okay, so here in this case, I sent out the DocuSign, but then I just uploaded an unsigned contract. So you might see some DocuSign statuses like skipped or completed. Let me see here. Oh, signed manually. That's because I uploaded the unsigned contract. Let me come back here into sorry, I'm jumping all over the place right now. Here are just because I can't find a specific opportunity. some of the statuses that you would then see on that page. So you would see if you sent the DocuSign, if it needs to be signed. Once the customer signs, you're emailed with that signed contract, but then your status would also show here that it's completed. And then the last step would be that you have to then open that DocuSign or your TSD and then upload that contract. So for the time being, even if you're using DocuSign, you do still have to come into CableFinder and upload that signed contract. So just rule of thumb, if it generates a contract, upload your contract. That is the easiest way just to remember, which ones you have to upload, which ones you don't. Essentially, if it generates paperwork, just come back into CableFinder and upload it. And what that does is sometimes it will send directly to the carrier portal. Sometimes it sends to the carrier via email, and sometimes it sends to the TSD and they process it. But regardless, for you, if you just upload those signed contracts, what happens on the back end, that's for the vendors and the TSDs to kind of work out, and just makes it a very consistent user experience for you. So we are working on a DocuSign enhancement, likely going to be available in August, that if you use the DocuSign integration, it will eventually auto upload into CableFinder. So as soon as the customer signs, it will upload into CableFinder and your order is submitted. So we're working on that. Again, should be available sometime in August. But for the time being, just continue to upload your signed contracts. We did also create kind of a quick button on the summary page here, so that once you have a signed contract, you can also come in here and hit upload and submit, or you can come in here and view that full opportunity and submit your order this way as well. So 2 different ways you can come in to submit your order. I will pause there and see what other questions we have.
Doesn't look like we have any other questions that have been submitted as of right now.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think that's actually all I had to go over. Now that I'm looking at it here, I think I covered everything on our agenda. The multi-quote, new pricing page, contract on an existing quote, and then our DocuSign update. So that captures all of it. Again, those will be launching tonight. So when you log in tomorrow, you will then start to see all of these updates in here. One quick thing to add here, we do have this search feature up here. So in the legacy experience, which actually, let me just show you guys what that looks like here so you can see the differences that we made. In our legacy experience, what you're used to today is coming here, and this is what it kind of looks like today. Much more limited actions here. You can really just download your quote. You can upload your signed contract from here. And then here you can search by kind of category. On our new page, we just have one search bar. And so you can search, if I just want to pull up all my Lumen opportunities, you can search for anything that is on this screen. We're adding the capability as well. It came back as feedback to search by order number. So if your order was placed and you need to search for that order number, you'd be able to eventually be able to search for that order number too. But for the time being, you can search for really anything on here. So as you're labeling your customer names or your quote names, mine are obviously all tests, but as you have more specific information, it'll just be that much easier to find on this page. Cool. Well, I think that was all I had for today.
Yeah, we did get one more question come in. When will we have the ability to revise a quote and contract without starting over?
I do not have an ETA on that. Just for some context, some of the limitations that we have with that is as we're kind of integrating into these carrier systems. We'll take Comcast, for example. Soon as you generate that contract in CableFinder, it is creating that prospect directly in their portal. So as you kind of edit those things, it has to edit what is already being built in Comcast, or some of the TSDs have CRM integration. So if you're generating a quote in CableFinder, it's already building that quote maybe in their RPM or their Salesforce. So as you're making those changes, it would then not only have to change it in CableFinder, but change it in the TSD system, change it in the carrier portal. So it's just a bit more complex as we have some of these integrations available that we're working through some of those.
Awesome. All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions as of now, but one thing to keep in mind is if you have any questions, especially as you are getting used to the experience, you are welcome to reach out to us, support@cablefinder.net, for any questions that you might have. And then, of course, feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. That way you will be in the know for any new updates that will be coming up. And it's just the best way to really learn and keep up to date with anything that is coming up related to CableFinder. So that being said, I will let you guys go for the rest of the day. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be able to join us, and we're really, really excited about all these new enhancements and updates being made to the platform. And we look forward to working with you and talking to you again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.